Hi, I'm Akhilora.
I'm Rohan.
Welcome to The Long Take. This week we're discussing, this is double bonanza, so welcome back. We're discussing Glass Onion, the new Knives Out movie with Daniel Craig returning and the director Rian Johnson as well. It's technically a sequel to the first one, but like the only character hanging about is Craig, who has been invited to a private Greek island by a tech billionaire, who's basically like every white founder you know combined into one. He's hosting a dinner party or like a weekend party, which goes Ori, obviously, because Benoit Blanc is here. And yeah, things take off from there. What do you make of it, Ron?
Not bad. I mean, I enjoyed it mostly. I found myself drifting momentarily here and there. Felt that was maybe a little too long, but
Yeah, that explainer portion where like they go back and they give us like the lowdown on how Benoit and Helen, not Andy, met. It was fairly like long.
But then again, I wonder if they could have how they could have shortened it if they wanted to. There is a longish like a terrace meeting that happens, which feels like the pivotal scene in the movie. But beyond that, I don't know. Like that has to be there, but I don't know how they could have kind of condensed that transition from what it was in the first half to what it becomes later. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like maybe if there was something besides the primary mystery that we could have latched onto, that would have helped. But since there is just one A plot and little else, it feels like you need like a palate cleanser now and then, which is my theory as to why maybe it feels a little long.
Right. Yeah, I think the first movie in that sense was like they were layers to it because everyone was given like motives and everyone was getting given like tiny backstories, right? Because of like how the introduction scenes happened. There's not really that here, I guess, which would have felt like a copy of the first movie structure. It's more like, in a way, like, I guess, kinetic, because it's like things just go into one. Like, I think my favorite part was this, like, where they like spend, I think they spend like take half an hour to come to like, you know, that big thing of reveal of like Miles's like murder mystery, what he's organized. Funny. And just like Benoit just like cuts through it and he's like delivers everything, and his like Miles's face is like epic. He's just like, what just happened? Like, why did he do that? Like, this was supposed to be my like big idea for the weekend, and now he just spoiled it.
It's also funny because Craig is, and at that point you don't know why, but he's like really overdoing the accent and everything. And I felt, I mean, for a solid, until they explain it, I really did feel like Rian Johnson had done some random creative overhaul on this character, because for some reason he wanted to, you know, like change it up. But then obviously when they explain it, it makes sense. But then in the moment, like it read to me also as like Rian Johnson just like, he's always like spoken about like how he doesn't want to do like make whodunnit about the whodunit, right? Like why are we like make people like forward like a puzzle. So like that, when he just like cuts through that, he could have just like shown it for like, you know, at least 15 minutes. Characters run around, the rich people try to figure out what's happening, and then he could have cut through it. But like that just felt like he was like, oh yeah, like you want a puzzle, here your puzzle is solved. Yeah, no, I was also talking about Craig's performance in that whatever 45-minute or hour long, you know, because it draws attention to the fact that it's so over the top, right? And it wasn't in the first movie. So you're constantly wondering what's happening, if it's like deliberate overhaul creatively or if he's putting on a show. It's eventually obviously revealed that he is putting on a show. But I found that very interesting because he's playing a version of Benoit Blanc that we didn't see before. And
yeah, it's almost like he's playing what like people expect the world's greatest detective to be.
Yeah, and he says it, right? He's just leading into the foghorn leghorn thing just to like throw them off and throw us off also. But then that kind of ties into the larger conceit of this movie, right? Which is like everything is hiding in plain sight. His over the top performance within the performance that Craig is doing is like another thing that's hiding in plain sight, right? In addition to all the clues that we're shown later. So all that is very clever. I found the opening split screen thing very clever also, when they receive those mystery boxes and everything.
Yeah, because like I mean, it's a struggle for any ensemble movie to like sort of like introduce and like get so many characters to like not only to like connect to us, which is the important part because we have to like care for all of them, but also like develop their inter sort of personal dynamic, right? And he does both in like whatever 10 minutes.
Yeah, but the fun thing about both these movies is that it's very clear that you don't have to care for any of these people except the one person that you're supposed to care for, right? And in both these cases,
yeah, but you have to connect to them, right? Like it is like otherwise it just feels like if you start killing them off, you're like, I don't care who's dying.
Yeah, like which movie did we watch recently? Monica, Oh My Darling, where all the suspects started dying, right? And अगर यहाँ भी मर जाते, like I don't really care if Dave Bautista lives or if Kate Hudson lives, it's fine. They're all having fun. That's good. But then they're interchangeable pawns, right? Like she could have died instead of him and nothing would have changed. That being said, I did enjoy like we're getting a sense of what he's doing with these movies now. It's just not a pure like whodunit on the surface. Like there is like he is trying to say things with both these movies, and
and this one is like probably a little on the nose sometimes,
unintentional,
but
I'm sure.
I think but it's also like I think that's very much like the intention with this one. Like Glass Onion, I think is a lot more showy and like over the top and like tongue in cheek than like I think Knives Out was a little more muted. Like you had that background character who was on his phone, who was basically like a little far right role. But like in this one, like everyone is part of my French and asshole.
Yeah, like I don't know if you watched The Menu recently or a lot of these movies that have been coming out, right? Like the white.
I saw that like if you talk about like Eat the Rich stuff, then like I saw like Triangle of Sadness.
Triangle of Sadness, like, everyone's terrible, right? White Lotus, everyone's terrible, right? And they're all like they have their own, failures. They have their own little successes, but this one isn't trying to be a satire first. This one's first and foremost a whodunit, which happens to also be satirizing people like this, right? Which the others were like pure satire.
It's more concerned with I think in general just like making us enjoy the ride, right? I think that's like his first goal, which is like he's spoken about. Like he was like, I was bored during COVID out of my mind. I wanted to have a vacation. So I literally had a vacation with like my favorite cast, which is what I think that infectious energy he wants to like be in the film as well. Like he's not trying to make a White Lotus per se, which like enjoys the benefit of like 7-8 hours and painting characters and layering them and
still does nothing with it. Like second season, I did not like that.
Oh, okay. But this one is the movie is more about like having a good time, and underneath it, because Rian Johnson is clever enough, he can do like two things at once.
Yeah, multiple things in this one,
Yeah.
Like, I don't like, firstly, the casting itself, like Edward Norton as this douchey tech bro is quite perfect, right? Because that's, I don't know if he realizes that uska bhi mazak udaya ja raha hai. Like, I don't know.
I think sabka hi mazak udaya ja raha hai in a way, right? Like Kate Hudson, you put her in such a role, which she herself has like that kind of background. Like she's obviously not like anywhere near that controversial for what she's done, but like you are in a way lampooning them in some way.
Yeah, it's similar to how like I felt Kate Blanchett in Tar. Like there's a reason why she was cast in that movie. And I don't know if Edward Norton knows that people think that he's this person in real life.
Yeah, Norton's been known to be like that creative guy, like the actor on set who wants to be the creative guy, right?
The combative person who thinks that he's he's smarter than everyone else in the room, basically.
Yeah.
He's actually not, which is the point that this movie is trying to make, right? All these people, these rich people, and so the funny thing is that the first movie was about old money, right? These people have inherited all their cash. These people have made it themselves very recently. You're new rich people.
Yeah.
Right. And that is the spectrum of whatever his satire is. But then both those categories of rich people he is lampooning. Right. And he's doing it via a minority character. In the first movie it was Ana de Armas, and in this one it's Janelle Monáe.
Yeah. Yeah, like he wanted comeuppance for the characters. Like it's like you can tell how Rian Johnson feels about this bunch of like this kind of people.
Even though
Basically.
with like all the 400 500 million, he is probably one of them.
He
And
himself
he's like,
has,
oh,
yeah.
let's not forget Netflix pe hai ye film.
Yeah.
Which I find this very funny. What was that Amazon thing that they made recently? Okay, I'm forgetting. But anyway, anything that comes on a streaming website or a major Hollywood studio and then pretends to be whatever, showing middle fingers to rich people, it takes me 10 minutes to kind of get over that, and then I can enjoy it.
Yeah, but I think that's like that's just the reality of our world, right? Like you can't get this movie on this scale and level from a tiny studio, like which like has like a 5 million, like or to 1 million,
No,
turnover
but there
every
has to be
year.
some sort of acknowledgement that Daniel Craig को $100 million मिल रहा है ना for whatever, however many sequels he's doing, 2 sequels, right? Someone has to acknowledge
Yeah.
that. So I don't know how you do it, but then you have to do it. You can't just pretend like you're one of us, like, which is what the worst people do, who kind of
Yeah, but
gain
I don't think
power.
like
They
that's
pretend
what
to be
like
the common.
yeah, but I'm not gonna put Craig and Ryan in that bracket though. I don't think they've ever like tried to tell us that, oh, like yeah, we just like you and like help us.
I mean, aren't they saying that by pointing fingers at rich people in this movie? Like, haha, let's make fun of these people who think they're very smart. And I don't know, I just feel it's a little weird for extremely rich 1%ers to suggest that, no, you're not like everyone else. You're not struggling. You're not like, you're there. You made it. Congratulations. I don't know. Have something more meaningful to say.
Yeah, but like at least like what I would say, I mean, I'm not excusing them anyway, but like what I would say is that at least this bunch, like who are making these movies and like willing to like make such movies, are better than the ones who are just schmoozing with like Mark Zuckerberg all day long, right? They are not making any point at all. At least they might be rich themselves, but they're willing to like showcase that like, yeah, people they know or maybe they themselves are this shallow and like this idiotic and they deserve to not be there.
Yeah, for instance, like, a lot of like Bollywood films would just be like empty, like completely like cash grabs, right? Like those people, they have no self-awareness.
Yeah, like Karan Johar makes like movies about rich people all the time, and they're shown as victims all the time, right? So like it's not that level of movie as well.
What else? Did you like the brief kind of fleshing out of Benoit Blanc this time, suggesting maybe that he has a life outside this?
Suggesting that he's like possibly like gay, right? Like I mean,
no, I mean he's fully gay, I'm guessing. But then even that we did not know. We did not know that he had a life.
Yeah, we didn't give anything, right? Like because the first movie, like which he's spoken about as well, right? Was like that Ana de Armas was the protagonist, right? Like it's through her eyes that we're supposed to see the entire world, and like
Craig is like is the protagonist, right? He's just in her world briefly.
No, but I feel like Janelle Monáe becomes the protagonist midway through, right? And when
by the nature of the
but I feel like this movie is a lot more Benoit Blanc's than the first one was.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering because traditionally these detective stories, the detectives themselves are blank slate types. Yeah. Right. And
because they have to like switch between like multiple movies. It's almost like you need them to like be adaptive, and it's the colorful cast that always like entice you and like enchant you.
Okay, listen, yeah. So cast se mujhe ek important point I need to make with all these murder mysteries, including this one also, is this one major mistake they make, right? Is that they don't, and earlier that they used to, the 70s mein jo Christie adaptations aayi thi with Peter Ustinov and everything. The ensemble cast had actors of equal-ish popularity, right? Which is very, very important. The minute you have a Chris Evans in your cast, you're kind of telegraphing the twists, right? Which all of these new murder mysteries make this mistake, right? Even here, like, I mean, as good as Janelle Monáe is, Edward Norton hai, theek hai? So instantly you're going to be like, acha, theek hai, this person is not going to be in this movie alongside Catherine Hahn unless he has something important. Otherwise, I would expect Rian Johnson to subvert it.
Right.
To cast someone huge and then give them nothing to do, that would be funnier. But then
Yeah.
to cast them and be like, oh yeah, we cast them because they have like a more meaningful role than anybody else. That's kind of telegraphing your own twists, which I think they should avoid.
It's also like, I think in a way, like he's also not banking on, but like he's sort of, you have to fall back on like who can deliver like those meaty roles, right? Like if you give like that meaty role to a smaller actor versus you give that to like a more experienced one, would then the movie be better off for it, or could the movie potentially suffer?
No, but my point is that all the actors have to be of similar either talent or popularity.
But is that possible in today's age, like given like everyone's time commitments and like
I don't know.
demands of like what they want in terms of monetary compensation?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Look, so I'm just looking at the cast for Orient Express 70s wala. Sydney
I'm
Lumet
sure it's
wala.
like packed of like from everyone, literally all the biggest ones in that age.
You will not believe it. Look at this. I'll tell you. Lauren Bacall, all right. Ingrid Bergman, right. Sean Connery, John Gielgud, Anthony Perkins, Vanessa Redgrave. You put them in a lineup and you ask me to point out Murderer Corner,
Yeah.
I will not be able to tell you. But then if you put this cast, I'll be like, I don't know if he's the murderer, but Edward Norton suspicions him.
And also like it's also easier in this case, that is that fact that Rian Johnson keeps like, he wants to clearly make like point out, right, like the white man in today's America is the guy to blame for like most problems.
I wonder if he's willing to take Benoit Blanc's adventures outside America. If that might kind
But like
of
technically this is outside America, but the only thing is, yeah, it's like
it's
all
Americans.
just Americans in like a foreign environment.
Yeah. So I wonder if, if that would also kind of reveal what his priorities are. Like he can repeat the formula like Agatha Christie used to churn them out every week, right? He could repeat the formula for as long as he wants. But then the deeper kind of statements that he's trying to make with these movies, that would be, more clearer if, for instance, he's willing to go outside America, or if he's willing to just, target white, moneyed Americans, if that is going to be the constant, like, butt of the joke. He will have to.
Could also be the case of like, it's almost like, depending on like which writing school he comes from, like it's almost like write what you know best situation, right? So maybe like that's why he's sticking to like the country that he knows, rather than like step into like a minefield of like other whatever socio-political of some other country which he doesn't understand as much, and then like gets criticized for it.
I mean, as much as I enjoyed this movie, I still can't point my finger on why I didn't fully enjoy it. Why it's like not a home run in every way. Maybe it's because I have huge expectations from him.
From Rian Johnson.
Yeah, because he's one of those people who will tackle whatever genre that he does, he will flip it, right, in some interesting way. Like the noir that he did, I think the first movie that he did, right? Was
talking about Brick?
Yeah. He flipped the noir tropes in that movie.
Yeah.
And then even with the Star Wars movie, it wasn't a Star Wars movie, which was the most interesting
it wasn't.
about
which
it.
is the reason that a section of the fans and audience don't like it.
Yeah. And the first Knives Out, it did very, very cool things with a genre that we all felt like we knew inside out, right? It added,
which is why a genre that almost had like run its course during the 2000s and stuff like that, like you wouldn't get like this level of films, right? You would get like smaller films, or you get like one-off like here and there.
Yeah. And I mean, in many ways, Knives Out has kind of re-energized, interest in that genre. Like largely because of that, how big that film became is why we've gotten so many since then. So many, like After Party does not exist if Knives Out doesn't hit.
Yeah.
Bodies does not
Literally,
exist.
I saw the After Party trailer and I was like, 1 second, did this like drink Knives Out for like 6 days in a week, and they were like, okay, we want to make that now for a TV show.
But the cool thing about, or very important thing about a whodunit is that whole section where the detective interrogates the suspects. I feel that is crucial. If you don't have that in your story, then you're kind of in dicey territory where you may or may not be a whodunit at all. This movie does not have that, right? At all. Which I feel is like a bold move. And I'm not entirely sure if it works. Because it kind of sucks the air out also. Because you don't really... Having those interrogation scenes kind of fleshes out each person's motivations to have actually committed the crime, whether or not they actually have. Here you kind of know.
Put himself in that position, right? By secluding them on a private island owned by this tech billionaire. Like, Benoit Blanc has no power in this scenario. He cannot insert himself in the way he inserted himself in a magistrate's mansion where the police was around, right? Where he was hired by whatever anonymous person, which we eventually find out. So, like, it's a very different situation for this detective. Even though he's the world's greatest detective, he's just a pawn here being moved around.
And he's already proven his skills, right? He's done that flex, which is why that, you know, opening scene is so funny. Like, to him it's like child's play, right? That's what he says about the dabbas also, because we saw like the others struggling with them and it's like fun, but then when he talks about it, he's like, wo children's puzzles the, right? So all that is funny and all that is designed to kind of indicate to you that this person is, you know, much smarter than everyone else, right?
And he's not even self-aware about it. Like when he's like saying that line to like Miles Braun, and the Miles' face is just like collapsing. He's like, what?
Yeah, that's
children's puzzles. I paid someone like millions to make those.
So all that is funny. But I think not having the interrogation stuff also takes away like a lot of the fun of these movies and stories is you trying to solve the mystery along with the detective. Which here I'm not sure if I was doing.
Which like all. I think probably is intentional, right? Because like what I keep hearing from his mouth, like Rian Johnson I think doesn't want us doing that.
Okay, then it's almost intentional.
Like it's almost like he wants us to like think about characters and how they interact with each other instead of like trying to solve the movie. So I think that's why he's like,
makes sense.
Yeah, he's trying to push away from that as much as possible. Like even though he loves clearly the genre whodunit, like he's literally making. Which like I guess which goes back to what you were talking about his movies, right? Like he wants to make the antithesis of every genre.
Okay, that explains that is a subversion then this time. So it exists.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure if it works, but it exists, which is fine.
Yeah, but like that's what I think is brave about Rian Johnson is that whatever he takes, like he is too like a damn sure that he wants to like make something entirely different than what we've seen before, and not just like, you know, like the classical stuff works. Like that's what like. A filmmaker like Jon Favreau does. Like he picks a piece of like movie or whatever filmmaking, does it the way like it's been done for like a lot of years, but then still excels in it.
Yeah.
And that's good enough. But then Ryan is the kind of filmmaker who wants to like implode things, either figuratively or literally.
इसमें तो explode करता है. End में.
Which like I think that was probably the only part like which I was like, okay, this is like probably going way over the top now, like you know, just like given the stature of like what you've shown Miles' person, he's clearly like someone with like $70-80 billion, right? Probably more if not less. After a point like what Helen was doing in that scene, I was like, yeah, I feel like this would just like not happen. Like just like it is sort of like shattering the framework or of possibilities that would happen in a world like this. Although I guess the fact that Helen was allowed to step on the island itself was the case, right? Like I think, imagine if like Miles, like, which billionaire would go around personally killing someone? Like they would pay someone to do it.
Hire Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, like no one would drive in their very identifiable car to the
but
person
I think that
they
is
like.
A part of the whatever mazak that he's.
Yeah, basically, like that's the movie is, I think, like a lot more fantastical than the first one, which like was grounded in some way. This one is, as I said, it's very showy.
The first one, even the house itself felt like a real house, right? This one is like not real, clearly. A lot of it is not real. Yeah, and the people,
like their lives that they led, like they felt like people we could know at some point.
Yeah.
Even if like friend of a friend of like relative or relative. And especially like Ana de Armas, like she literally lived like in a normal place, and like that felt like the way she was reacting to what was happening, everything like felt like within her control, within her possibilities. Here people are stretching into the realm of like fantasy.
Yeah, they're more like caricatures this time.
Yeah. Definitely this time around.
Yeah, which again, I don't know if it entirely works. Like, it's fun while you're watching it, but then you're like, oh yeah, I expect a little bit more nuance. Maybe that's not the right word. Some little bit more smart. Like, I think, did you watch the film Bodies, Bodies, Bodies? I felt that was really funny. Like, isme rich people are the butt of the joke. Usme it's like Gen Z, right? And the solution in that movie, the final reveal, it functions both as like a satisfying reveal and also like a piece of satire, which I think was very nicely done. Which is maybe what this one could have done also, because it was just there for the taking. But then, yeah, I don't know, like what happens next? What happens to this person, Miles? He loses everything, right? That's it, right?
Yeah, I guess like, I mean, given the police is showing up and like now his friends have become turned on him and like accepted that the narrative they're chasing. Although, wouldn't they all like perjure themselves to reveal the truth in a court again? I have no idea how that works.
Something must happen. Anyway, was there like, I stopped watching it once it ended, but was there like a post-credit sequence or something in this? Because I was wondering.
I stopped watching as well. I think I went to like halfway through the credits, but I think eventually Netflix start playing previews of like other movies, right?
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's time to kind of introduce a sidekick in this universe.
I mean, I think I would love to like that they had like parts of that in the first one, right? Like the police officer were hanging about for a bit. I think they literally like they wanted to like keep this cast like focus on them as so much as possible. That's why like there's even early justification to remove everyone as possible, right? Like Miles keeps telling us again and again that he sent all the staff home, he sent like this home, it's like that it's only them. So obviously in this one it wasn't like possible at all, because the entire movie is crafted on an invite basis. So that's in a way sort of traps you in terms of who you can involve. It's literally like in a way not even on planet Earth, if you can sort of imagine that movie almost like, right? It's almost like taking place in like a parallel universe or something. Because there's no interaction with the outside world, which I guess is sort of partly influenced by like the pandemic thing. Like if you wanted to make like a more involved movie, then whatever restriction would be more. So this was easier to like just like isolate 8-9 people into the movie. But now that he's like produce a third one in a normal regular world, maybe like he can go back to being more, I don't know, involved. I don't think that really answers what you asked.
I wonder if they approached Jared Leto to play the billionaire person, and then
they should get like Jared to play the Dave Bautista character. That would be funny. Because then at least it'll get interesting, right? Then you know actually like who could be the person to blame. Then they could both equal then Edward and Jared.
yeah, that would have been better. Just that, even one person actually. You don't even have to spend money on like 15 A-listers.
Just like you need to like have 2 equal contenders. Like imagine Hugh Grant roaming around, right? Then suddenly your ears would poke up. You'd be like, can he be the one?
Yeah. See, if Guy Ritchie can pull off like ensemble casts of like equal stature, then I'm sure Rian Johnson could. Yeah. I'm really hoping that he'd figure this out.
It's almost like Ryan shooting himself in the foot, because like he's set expectations so high with his movies. Like imagine now he makes like eventually the day if that ever happens, he makes like a new Star Wars movie, right? You'll be like, obviously compared to The Last Jedi, like how is he going to top that? Like good luck.
That's an impossibility.
Exactly. So like in a way like he's making it impossible for himself by making movies that are so good in his past that like he cannot for himself follow it up in the future.
Chalo, cool, I guess.
Okay, time to wrap it up. That's all for this episode of The Long Take. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at thelongtakepod. You can write to us at thelongtakepod@gmail.com. Please leave us a rating and a review with us in this episode, and we will see you next week. Actually, this time.